Welcome back to Unsupported Claims. We are continuing from last episode. We have the same critic with a new claim. Take a look at the video. Now, Pastor Trenton, did this god Chemosh kick Yahweh's butt?
Hey, thanks, Jim. Ooh, did Chemosh defeat Yahweh? Did he kick his butt? Look, that most certainly is an unsupported claim, and you'll soon see why. Well, first, it must be noted that Chemosh was the false god of the Moabites. And we know that Chemosh was a false god because there is only one God. Go see the previous video for that explanation. Now, many critics, however, point to extra-biblical evidence concerning Chemosh, which is primarily found in the Moabite stone, the Meshes stele, the 9th century BC stele commemorating King Mesh's victory over Israel. But what the critic does not do is examine all available evidence and look at the bigger picture. But as good detectives, we need to do that. Judges 10, 6-16, for example, informs us that due to Israel's unfaithfulness, God enacted judgment against Israel, which included allowing the Israelites to be afflicted by her enemies for 18 years. Now, judgment also came upon Israel when they were delivered into Babylonian exile due to their unfaithfulness. In fact, that's the reason Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego ended up serving King Nebuchadnezzar and was told to worship his false god, even though they didn't and they were saved from that. So, while it is true to say that Israelites had sometimes experienced defeat and loss, it is not true to say that God had been defeated. Now, it is written in 1 Kings 11, 6-7, Solomon did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and did not follow the Lord fully, as David his father had done. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable idol of Moab, on the mountain of which is east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the detestable idol of the sons of Ammon. And because of Solomon's unfaithfulness, God removed all but the southern kingdom of Judah from the Davidic dynasty, and the plateau of Moab came under the control of the northern kingdom for more than half a century. And though the Moabite stone indicates that King Meshach revolted during the reign of Ahab, the biblical text puts it after Ahab's death. The revolt prompted an alliance between Jehoram, who is Ahab's son, and he was king over Israel, and Jehoshaphat, who is king of Judah, in order to subdue Moab. Though the Moabite stone praises Chemosh for victory and deliverance from King Ahab of Israel, in the Bible, it is not Chemosh who gives victory to King Meshach, but Yahweh who gives victory to Jehoram, Ahab's son. The Israelites ended the battle and returned home after King Meshach offered up his oldest son to Chemosh on the city walls. However, the cult of Chemosh was eventually destroyed in Judah by King Josiah as part of his reforms. And though the Moabite stone describes an evil king giving praise to a false god for a supposed victory, look, a few things need to be considered when examining the bigger picture. So first, in the ancient Near East, people often used the language of conventional warfare rhetoric in order to exaggerate their victories. So that one piece of writing on that one stone doesn't explain the whole picture. Now, example of this is found in the Merneptah stele, which is around 1230 BC, where Ramses II's son, Merneptah, announced, "Israel is wasted, his seed is not," which was a premature and inaccurate declaration. Israel's seed is very much survived. And so when Moab, the King Meshach bragged that the northern kingdom, Israel, has utterly perished for always, that was about a century premature. The Assyrians devastated Israel about 100 years later, and that was only because God pronounced judgment on the Israelites for their unfaithfulness. Now, it is for this reason that Jeremiah was known as the weeping prophet, because he lamented over the inevitable judgment. Which brings me to my next point. Even if King Meshach defeated Israel in a specific battle, his victory wouldn't have been due to a false god known as Chemosh. Rather, Israel's defeat was due to their unfaithfulness to Yahweh and their sinful choices. In fact, even though Jehoram and Jehoshaphat united to subdue Moab, It is still written in 2 Kings 3, 2-3, that Jehoram lived an evil life. He did evil in the sight of the Lord, though not like his father and his mother, for he put away the sacred pillar of Baal which his father had made. Nevertheless, he clung to the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which he made Israel sin. He did not depart from them. Even Elisha the prophet at first refused to help Jehoram because he did evil in the sight of the Lord. And the only reason they had success at that time when they united together to subdue Moab was because God intervened for them, though not completely. And they definitely didn't experience success due to their righteousness. So, why did God allow things to happen the way that they happened? Look, it's written in Isaiah 55, 8-9. God says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Now we need to consider the fact that God had a bigger plan in place that didn't involve the complete removal of the Moabites. Perhaps the most significant Bible character to come from Moab was Ruth, who was of the women of Moab, but was genetically linked to Israel through Lot, the nephew of Abraham. Ruth is an example of how God can change a life and take it in a direction he has foreordained. And we see God working out his perfect plan in Ruth's life, just as he does with all his children. Although she came from a pagan background in Moab, once she encountered the God of Israel, Ruth became a living testimony to him by faith. And through Ruth, eventually came Christ Jesus. And through Christ, the one true God was glorified. So, did Chemosh defeat God? Oh, by the way, where is Chemosh? Whatever happened to that false god? Oh, yeah, well, it's not around because it never existed. Only people who lived evil lives and claimed a false god, they existed. Jesus, on the other hand, who is God, is alive and will be coming back again. So who is the real victor? Oh, as it turns out, I wrote an article about Jesus returning. That's pretty important. Back to you, Jim.
Well, there you have it. It's just another critic with another claim that's unsupported. See you next time.